Shame, the Defector. I am fulfilled. My creators may look down upon me and see me as a disgrace to my heritage, but I had carved my own path. My home world will continue to suffer. However, this is the greatest course of action. Being cast down into the abyss was my ultimate end, my destiny. I may have failed their mission, but I had done right by mine. Made sentient, I was given an opportunity to bring peace among my own land. The creators were slowly being torn apart by their own. They have had a couple chosen before me, both fallen into depravity. With each failure, the pressure to restore the great balance was becoming more and more urgent. The creators knew a little more about the two entities that were residing in the archetype realm. They informed me that the dark itself was a superior malevolent force. It had taken one chosen before me. They now call him Fear, warning me to prepare for the worst when I encounter the darkness. The light, on the other hand, they knew very little about, only knowing that it had tricked the chosen that captured it, causing irreparable damage to the great balance when placed inside of it. This is why he fell into depravity himself. They call him Sorrow. Knowing what has been done before, I set off. During my realm tear, I was preparing myself for the worst. Little did I know I would be materializing directly into the land of tranquility itself. Instead of arriving in deep space, I arrived into a foreign land, inside the atmosphere. Going the speed of light, I became a burning ball of flame. My body engulfed in fire, I struck through a fortress, continuing towards a mountain. I had made impact with this solid mass, causing an explosion of debris. The mountain cracking under the force, one half gave away, toppling to the ground. I came to after some time to hear screaming and crying. What has happened to this land? Yelling in the distance. This is an event in which we have never seen the likes of. Uttering another voice. Trying to get to my own feet was not easy, as I had lost a wing while bursting through the stone walls of the fortress. My armor had become molten metal while descending into the land of the light. I took extra armor and weapons from the creators before I left, to prepare for the potentially dangerous path that I was walking. Now just to be melted and useless metal smoldering off my body. Finally getting to my feet, I had managed to stagger my way to a small cliff looking over the vast land. In the distance I could see a mob. I zoomed in using my sight. They weren't angry looking, they were confused and concerned. No weapons, just these odd torches that procured varying colors. This had got me. Why are they not coming out with weapons to prepare for what could have been an attack? What is this place? I began making my way down the mountain, barely able to stand, falling, sliding, and clumsily descending the cliffs. I could see the fissure I had caused on impact. Then it hit me. The screaming was not just from the concerned inhabitants. I had wiped out an entire village resting upon the base of the mountain. My heart sunk. I have killed an unknown number of civilians living amongst this land. I made it to the crushed village. Bodies scattered, some barely visible as you could only see their fingers underneath the boulders, others dismembered in various ways. I could hear a faint whimpering around the corner. I made my way to see what it was. A little girl had been severed from her legs. She had spotted me. Trying to find the remaining energy in herself, she then started to crawl slowly towards me, barely able to grasp the ground in front of her. I then started to limp towards the girl, picking her up as she sobbed, sitting down and leaning against a rock while holding what was left of this little girl, arms around my neck, crying, seeking comfort while her life starts to fade. Her aura, once a intertwined blue, purple and green, now starting to lose the vibrancy it once had. The blue slowly blowing into the wind, fading into the beautiful evening sky. The purple dimming to the point it was barely visible, but still casting upon the stone behind us and the ground beneath us with a warm glow. Her tears, green, started to crystallize as she was taking her last breaths. Speaking softly, she uttered what would remain with me for the rest of time itself. "My name is Emerald, and I forgive you. Her little fingers then slipped from my neck, body going limp, aura completely faded. Slowly standing up, I rested her in a patch of flowers, where I then wrote her name with surrounding pebbles in the area. Choking back my tears, I stood up, uttering to myself, "This little girl knew I was the one who caused this catastrophic event, and still forgave me. I am at a loss of words. How can I help fix what I have caused? How can these beings be so forgiving under these types of circumstances? I must find help to save others that may be trapped within the debris." Looking around, I spotted a couple civilians staring in awe at the wreckage. They didn't know what to do. They couldn't even help their own. They just stared speechless. I made my way towards them. They gazed upon me. They then looked terrified. I couldn't blame them. They have likely never witnessed an angel before. My large stature and metallic composition likely didn't help the fear they were surely feeling. I put my hand out. "It's all right, I am not here to harm you." As I did this, they shuddered, moving backwards. They then simply asked me, "Were you the cause of this calamity?" I then shamefully nodded my head, uttering the words, "Yes, I am." They then started nearing closer. I then felt very uncomfortable. Starting to slowly back away from them, they moved quicker towards me. Not able to move any faster due to my injuries, they grabbed me. Doing no harm, one simply said, quote, "This land has never seen such an act of disgrace. Tragedy is foreign in this land. Our own village, and people now slaughtered by your very presence." She then started screaming in horror. Terrified, I stumbled as fast as possible away from the wreckage. They did not chase me, only scream. The screaming grew fainter as I made it further away from the mountain base. Now alone in the forest in which I had ran towards, I could only feel an uncontrollable emotion as I fell to my knees. I didn't know how to explain it. My body started trembling and shaking, tears started forming in my eyes and dripping down my face. I began weeping. I am to be punished for my actions, as I have killed many upon my arrival in this land. I don't belong amongst the people inhabiting this tranquil place. Then, just screaming into the air, I started bashing my skull against the tree in front of me. Now bleeding down my face, I stood up and walked to the edge of a cliff, looking down into the canyon, wanting to end it all. Then, remembering the little girl Emerald, I decided I will let her people decide my fate. The mob must have heard my screams, as I now saw a glow in the forest approaching. Standing still on the edge of the cliff, they stood behind me. "Are you all right, stranger?" Simply replying, "I am the cause of this destruction you see just beyond this path. Do with me what you will." Turning around, I could now barely hold myself up. They ran to me, aiding me. I then blacked out due to fluid loss, only to wake inside a dimly lit room of glowing spheres. On a cot, slowly sitting up. Feeling much better, I stood. They had fixed me, almost completely. Shocked at these actions, I knew I must find someone to explain why they have done this, and not just killed me. Searching the halls for anyone, I finally stumbled upon a being, not looking at all like the individuals who I met in the village or the mob. These were very bright and translucent beings who hovered above the ground itself. Stopping in his tracks, he spoke. "You're awake. We have been waiting. Come join us." Stepping onto the floor, he led the way to the grand hall. The architecture was astonishing in this place. Pillars made of sapphire with deep purple streaming up the sides. The ceiling full of glimmering stars, light refracting off of the floor. Torches and candles with a soft blue flame. We reached our destination. In the center of the room was a magnificent sight. Tablets made of marble with scripture carved into them. Behind these were 3 towering statues. The left and right holding their swords high with fists raised to the air, the center hovering above the mountain that they stood upon. Looks as if they had won a great battle of some kind. Is this the Light Realm's history? Take a seat. The 3 pillars of light will arrive shortly. After waiting for some time, 3 entities came out from behind me. They hovered in front of me, all with different sets of armor. each looking handcrafted and enchanted with some sort of power. Purple, blue, and green were their individual colors. These were the beings that the statues represented. Speaking individually to finish each other's sentences, I was baffled. "We are the 3 pillars of light. Welcome to our domain. You are not the first of your kind to enter this land. One before you had made contact with us, searching for the essence of our realm. If we recall, his name was Sorrow." I weakly replied, "Yes, he has been cast down into the abyss. A failed project. He claimed the light realm had tricked him, thinking that he had obtained the essence of light, when in actuality it had been a false light, furthermore fracturing the great balance itself." Intrigued, the pillars of light responded, "Ah, yes, the great balance, our prison and our bane. Have you come to Sanctuary to claim our light chosen?" "I am Shame. I was sent out with the same objective as the previous 2, deciding to encounter the light realm, as the dark realm terrifies me. After warping in, I had lost control, thus taking out your mountain range, killing your villagers, and ultimately causing turmoil in your land. For that, my mission has changed. I am no longer here to capture the essence of light. I am indebted to your kind, and would like to repair the destruction I brought upon the light realm." Silent for a moment, the pillars of light had accepted my new mission, taking me in as one of their own. Little did I know that this was only the beginning of an end, triggered by my very own presence in this land and the calamity I had brought to it. Over the next 26 months, I had rebuilt the tower I had blown through, and even though it took much longer, the mountain village was whole once again. I have also made refuge in the mountain, instead of the kingdom of Sanctuary. I didn't belong with the rest of the villagers of this land, nor did I with the city folk. Morning and night, I am always at watch over this land, on the peak of the mountain in which I tribute to Emerald. Over the months, I began reading scrolls and ancient tablets, thus teaching myself almost everything there is to know about auras. Not to only simply just hide my own, but to gather all surrounding ones. The land, the sky, the sea, and other living beings. One I have not yet learned is how to speak with the forgotten. There is no true way to harness that power. The tablets speak of it, but no one in scripture has done it. There may have been a few that walked the plains long ago, but there is zero record of it. This is my ultimate goal, as I want to know if the deceased are able to make contact with us. Just stuck in a limbo, screaming and shouting, trying to break through the barrier of the sands of time, meditating every evening as day turns into dusk, proceeding into the blackness of night. Every day I relive the moment in which will haunt me forever. Shutting down my aura, I stand with my staff planted in the ground, entering a trance on top of Emerald Peak, staggering to the crying little girl who had been severed in half by a boulder, watching her try to grasp the dirt towards me, picking her up to lean against the rock behind us. Her tears crystallizing, aura rapidly fading, for the little girl then to forgive me with her last breaths after I had killed her and her mother. After each trance, my aura returns, but only dimly. I have no words, and only tears run down my face, wanting to scream into the sky but holding it back every time. The inhabitants here need me to be strong, and cannot know how weak I truly am. To this day I do not understand why my body doesn't hang lifeless from the peak of this mountain. Why am I not an example? This land treats me like I am one of their own, always inviting me to partake in commodities, walking the trail up the mountain to express how thankful they are and giving me gifts of appreciation, asking me to teach them the ways of obtaining auras, in which I do every solar noon. Getting many questions about what land I came from, how I got here, and what I am always on watch for. For them, it is very interesting to know that there are other realms than just light and dark. But like I promised, I have never spoken about the Great Balance, or how the Dark Realm still exists, simply explaining I came from a land as a voyager, in search of other life, that I went through a wormhole, with it hurling me violently into their land, that I have also never seen calamity until I broke into this realm, that they were the ones to teach me about the Dark Worlds instead of me having knowledge about it. With all these questions with semi-fabricated answers, I had one true question for myself. When are my creators going to send another like me, in search for the angel who had too much shame to face them once again? Finishing up my trance on top of Emerald Peak, I knew something was off. My vision of Emerald while meditating was malfunctioning, words sputtering, the world glitching around me, flickering in and out of existence. While I was putting the little girl into the patch of flowers, she awoke, impaling me with her fist, her eyes a piercing white, her face tainting to black, her aura burning red, laughing in my face as sharp teeth glistened in the light. I awoke to 4 figures around me as the vision faded. I learned I had actually been pierced through my abdomen and with my own staff. My body resided roughly a third of the way through the entirety of the staff. Grunting in pain, grasping the weapon, fluids began leaking down the lower half of my body. Quickly gazing upwards, a shadow-like figure stood before me, mimicking my grunts in a distorted tone back to me, holding its own abdomen area. Astonished at what I was looking at, I had no idea where it came from and how it found this realm. No time to think about these questions now. I needed to find a way to kill them. As of this moment, 4 stood around me, all copying what I am doing move for move, simply asking, "What are you?" Their bodies distorting as they spoke, while repeating what I said right back to me but in a static tone once again. Taking a step forward, the being mimicked the same step but towards me. Stopping in my tracks, I took a step backwards. The being in front did the same, but the one behind me came closer, pushing my staff further through my abdomen. Screaming in pain, dropping to my knees, all 4 howled into the night sky with about a 3-second delay to my cries, while dropping to the ground. Breathing heavily, I now know not to move suddenly with these dark creatures. Looking to the right and left, 2 more stood. I was surrounded. Was this my time? Standing to my feet, I leapt to the right. To my surprise, the being on my right leapt away from me, and the one on the left lunged towards me, striking me with his sword. Fluids now coming out of my shoulder where my crest is engraved. The instinct is to regroup myself by fleeing, then laying an offensive later, but that is the exact instinct that will also get me killed. What do I do? Then it came to me. My staff is protruding out of my body, therefore I can use it to my advantage. Grinning, I launched myself towards the being ahead of me, clenching the staff, yelling, as I knew this was going to cause great pain for me also. The dark being then copied my movements, lunging at me, my weapon then piercing his abdomen, with his mimicked war cry turning into a blood-curdling scream. This was the first time one of these creatures didn't copy my movements. Frantically trying to pull itself off of the staff's end, I reached out with my other arm, drawing him closer to me by his head. Agony ensued throughout my body, as this creature's was hanging off the solid object that is stuck within my own. Beginning to flicker out of existence, I stared into its eyes, yelling, "You shall never take me down. You had the upper hand and still failed." I mustered a small chuckle. This was the first real combative encounter I ever had. Adrenaline pumping, heart racing. My vision felt surreal. Tearing the staff out of my body, slamming the bottom end into the ground, a piercing light caught the shadow creatures off guard. I had dimmed my aura and escaped the trap that once held me. They were now blind to any of my movements as my aura has vanished from their sight. Roles changed as they went from being the hunters to being the hunted. Panicked, they scattered into the night. I swooped into the sky, gazed downwards, and began the game of cat and mouse. Tracking my second victim, I began my descent, racing through the wilderness, eviscerating the treetops towards my target. I could sense its fear levels rising as the creature's movements were getting more and more frantic. Gaining rapidly on my foe, I blew by the creature, cleanly dismembering his torso from his lower half with my wings. His legs kept running for about another 15 feet as his upper half seized out of existence quite quickly, releasing a screech into the blackness. One half gone, onto number 3 of 4. I wanted to make sure the 4th creature witnesses the demise of his last comrade. Simultaneously tracking the last 2, I had to make it so they would cross paths. There was a vast field in which was the opportune place to strike from above. Now to make that happen. Scaring them into running towards each other, I blew by both on the opposite sides of one another. Both now on track to each other, I wanted to give them a glimmer of hope. After they met, I plummeted towards the ground behind them, landing with great velocity, causing a crater. Dirt erupting into the air while trees blew back, with the closest ones to ground zero tore straight out of the ground. Emerging from the dust cloud, striding towards my foes, I dimly lit my aura so they could not just sense their demise but see it in physical form. While also harnessing a spear in hand at the ready, before they could flinch, I hurled my spear to the one on the left, blowing it back 100 feet while piercing its skull, pinning the body to a boulder, spidering the sediment where the spear struck. Before the last dark being could think about evading me, I charged him, breaking the barrier of sound. Grabbing the center of his body, I spun 360 degrees to then let the being free from my grasp. With such velocity behind it, the landscape in which he was aimed at stood no chance to withstand the power. In his wake, the tree trunks disintegrated, the air ignited, causing vegetation to catch fire, only for the being to hit a cliffside, coming to a dead stop, fragmenting the entirety of the solid structure. Before the whole thing could collapse upon the creature, I rapidly traversed the disfigured trees and fiery landscape left behind the dark being, saving it from death. A wall of debris came thundering down immediately behind us. Holding the being by its neck, I brought it closer to my face, staring directly into its eyes. I am the guardian of this realm, an angel in the ranks of the creators. You stand no chance. Tell your comrades and your armies that I will be at the gateway between the dark realm and light realm, waiting for those who dare to enter. Dropping the creature, it then scurried away like a rat. Looking around me, I had utterly decimated a small portion of land. Looks like I had some work to do, but not before I let the pillars know of what had happened here, and who had finally found the tranquility of the light realm once again. What do you mean the darkness has found us once again? It took millennia to finally break their grasp upon this land. We lost too many during the Great War. Our people don't even know what calamity is anymore. The first they have seen of it was when you rained down from the sky. There are very few here that even know of the Dark Realm's existence at all. I then replied, I was in trance when they had snuck up on me, attacking me while I was vulnerable. I had killed 3 and left 1 to tell the rest that I was protecting this land, and that I will show no mercy to any who enter. They are too frightened to return, as when I dimmed my aura they could not track or sense me. They mirrored my movements otherwise. I have much work to do as I leveled a small portion of land just east from your kingdom. I also vow to keep them away from your people, city folk, and villagers alike. I have caused too much damage and loss among this land already. I don't need them to aid me with that. Bowing to the pillars of light, they spoke. It must have been after you came thundering down, causing the first calamity this place has seen in centuries. Having sent out a signal of sorts that the darkness could pick up on, and after tracking this signal for a couple years, they have finally stumbled upon us. These beings only sound like scouts though. At least we know their weakness, as you and us within the ranks of the pillars can dim our auras. We do not condone such animosity and destruction in our land, but you did exceptionally well. If they return, minimize the damage you do, that is all we ask. We do not want our citizens to know of what may be coming, not yet. They look up to you immensely, almost to the point of idolizing. We trust your judgment in what's to come. We are glad to have you serve as a protector of our land if need be. Call upon on us as well. Nodding, then proceeding to stand and leave the grand halls of the kingdom, thus beginning the weeks of work that needed to be done. Many curious villagers had gathered around simply spectating, with some offering to help. It was almost disrespectful to not let them join in, as they were more than happy to aid me. As if it was helping their older brother, it made them feel special and important. Many asked what had taken place here, simply making an excuse that I had made a new training regiment to keep myself sharp. It was good that the bodies of the dark beings shimmered into nothingness afterwards, otherwise I would have some explaining to do. After many days of laborious work, we had finally made the land almost perfect, like nothing had ever taken place here. The citizens wanted all the fallen debris from the cliff to make some kind of tribute to me. It was a nice change being around the villagers and interacting with them. These beings only mean well and have truly accepted me with open arms. Maybe I should try to be more a part of their lives, as they could teach me a great deal about this existence in general. I may be wise, but I have much to learn. I elected to return to Emerald Peak for the night. I still had my daily meditation to do. But when I had reached the peak, gazing up at the sky, a small light formed in the cosmos. This was no ordinary shooting star, as it was hovering down towards the land. It was then I realized my only question has been answered, and that they have finally come for me. It was time to return to my homeland and face the very thing I have been avoiding for so long, my creators.